Hey, this is Professor Triplet, and we are going to carry on with modeling. And now we're going to handle this front piece right here, and then we'll move on to the piece right next to it. Okay, so let's go ahead and just make a cone here, and I'm just going to scale this up until we see it, and then we'll rotate it. Holding J on the keyboard, we'll snap it into increments. Let's go into our left view. Move this into place, and let's go ahead and scale it down a little bit. I went too far. Okay, so let's just scale this up a little bit now, get it right where we want it. So what I'm looking at right here on the scaling is this little mark right here, where the cone kind of turns the direction. I'm looking at that, so I'm just going to get it really close to there, and that's good enough. Okay, so one thing we'll need to do is we're basically going to slice the cone in half. So I'm actually going to show a tool. It's not a new tool, it's something we've used, but it's a way you can use a tool, and that is in this multi-cut tool. If you hold shift from outside here and you start dragging down, you can see you get like this cut, and that cut actually goes straight across. So I could actually decide like, hey, I'm going to cut right there. I mean, now you could easily just hold control and go over a normal edge loop, but in this case, because we have a pole here, it doesn't let me cut through there like a normal edge loop. So holding shift, drag down, I can just let go, and there we go. We have our cone established, or I should say our cut established on our cone. And I'm just going to go ahead and just move this right there to the crease. That should be good. Okay, now I want to just go to my faces, and oh, Maya's doing its funny selection stuff again. I never liked how that worked. So let's just select just those, hit delete, and then we'll go to our edges, and I'm going to start selecting stuff a little bit faster now using my hotkeys. And I have my 1, 2, and 3 key, like on my keyboard, is actually set to 1 is verts, and 2 is edges, and 3 is polys. And then I actually use my F1, F2, and F3 keys for my smooth preview. So anytime you hear me say I'm going to hit 1 on my or 3 on my keyboard for smooth preview, I'm actually hitting F3. And I'm just telling you that because for me personally, it works better because I can switch between my modes faster than having. Normally, it's F9, F10, and F11 are your verts, edges, and faces, and that just takes too long, personally. Okay, so now we should be able to cut an edge loop in here, and I'm going to go ahead and cut it at its apex. And so I'm looking at this curve here on the reference, and I see kind of like the height of the curve is right there. I'll go back to my verts, and then I will scale these up. So let's just scale it up a little bit. Now it's touching my reference. I'm looking mostly at the top right now. It's not 100%, perfectly on there, but it's okay. It's okay. It's pretty close. And I'm going to put one in here too. And we'll do the same thing. I'm just going to come in a little closer, and I'm just going to scale that up. And we'll just wash, rinse, and repeat. I could have just gone ahead and just added the edge loops and then scaled them all at once. That's probably the better way to do it faster. But sometimes I think of that stuff later. All right, so now we just want to grab this edge here, and we'll go ahead and just cap that edge. So in your fill hole right there, why they have fill hole in the mesh tool, I am not sure. I would think that would be in like edit mesh or something, but that's where it's at. We'll go to the face here. Let's get out of our x-ray like this. And at this point, I don't actually need this visible right now. And I'm just going to extrude this in. So I'm just going to hit my extrude button. Now watch this closely. I'm going to click on this little button here. That means it'll go to the middle of your selection, and then I'll just click once on my scale widget, and then you'll see this blue widget in the middle pops up, and so I'll just grab that and start pulling this in like so. Okay, hit W. I'm going to go to object mode and isolate this, because now what I want to do is, just like we've done before, I need to cut this up properly. I don't want to just collapse this to the middle, because poles are not the best for our models. So we want to keep it quads if we can. So to do that, I'm just going to go ahead and start doing my cross pattern here that you've seen me do before. And we could pick this one to be where our quad is. So let's see here, like so. Okay, so now we would go to these here, and we'll probably have one selected here. Oh, nope, there's none in the middle there, so we don't have to worry about that. So average verts right there, and I'll hit G a few times and just average those out. There we go. Now, actually this face I don't want, so I'm going to delete that. Alright, we'll get our reference back out. So Control 1 so we can see it. And at this point, I think I can hide a few of these. So you can see I can just hide the whole group, like so. There we go. And the front and the back are kind of annoying me. So you know what I think I'll do is I'm going to take these off of reference, and I'm going to select both the front and the back, and I'm going to create a new layer and call this ref underscore front back layer. Okay, so now I can hide those. Okay, so let's go back to our left view, and what we'll do is we'll go into our edges here, and what we need to do is actually bevel this just a little bit. So not too much. Let's just turn the fraction down a little bit, add a segment there, like so. I can go to my perspective view now, see if that looks right to me. I think that'll work. I'll hit the 3 on my keyboard, just see how this is looking smooth. It's a little bit smaller than the reference, so I'll go back to the unsmooth version. The unsmooth version is really close. I'd be being pretty darn picky to go ahead and adjust this, but actually I want to. I think the dynamics of that, having the curve enough, is actually nice. So I'm just going to scale this up a little bit so it's actually hitting the reference better, like so. And there we go. Okay, so now I'm going to take this open edge here and go to my perspective view, and I'm going to actually scale it so, or I should say extrude it so that it comes down to about right there. So I'll just go ahead and hit extrude again. Okay, and what I want to do actually is I'm going to actually do the scale trick again. So just click on that and then scale it out. It'll go straight from the center. And let's just be precise. So it needs to come just a little bit back. About right there. Okay. Okay, so now this is what we should have. Basically gets up to this point, and then it does a 90, well, not a 90-degree turn, but close to. All right, so another thing we're going to need is we're going to need to be able to hold this edge here, because if I go ahead and smooth this right now, you can see it turns into something soft. So if you want to hold the sharper edge, you just have to drop a few edge loops in. So let's drop one here. And, oops, somehow got the wrong edge there. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at our reference for a second here. We'll see how sharp the edge is right there in the reference. So yeah, we're gonna want that pretty tight. So what we have now is probably good. We'll want to put one around the edge here too to hold as we extrude again. So we'll go ahead and just click one into there while we're working with this thing. And now what we're going to do is we're going to do that thicken trick again that we did over here. So we're just going to basically take the geo that we have and we're going to thicken it. But remember how we did our UVs. So let's go ahead and get the UVs out of the way. And before I do that, I'm actually going to, I always like to delete the history when I see a really long list just because Maya starts to slow down a little bit. So I'm going to go to my UV editing. I will hit Control S just to save, and let's go ahead and just select the whole thing, and I think we'll be fine by just doing the planar. And then let's remember we have to change the planar settings a little bit. So those settings would be, these need to be the same, so I'm going to make these 13. And then I'm going to rotate this, I believe. Nope, not on the X. Z actually, then. I picked the wrong one both times. What am I doing wrong? So it should be, I guess it would be on the Y. Yep, it would be on the Y. Now that I look at it. See, I can actually look at it and tell, so basically, if it has to rotate down this axis, that's the Y. Okay, so now that we've got that, all we have to do is close this out, do an unfold. In this case, I would probably do the 3D unfold because it does a really good job for shapes like this. And then we'll go ahead and just move this off to the side for right now. And then let's go ahead and do a thicken while we're right here. So we just hit extrude, and then I'm just going to do the thickness right here. Let me see how far I did it. That's huge. Not exactly like that. Let's do it a little bit less. And we can go in this direction, and we'll just move the whole mesh out a little bit. That's fine. So that looks pretty good to me. Okay, so let's go to our left view again. And just move the mesh a little bit like that. And that looks fine. Okay, so now it looks like this edge is broken where we want it to be. So you can see this thick edge right here, the thick white line right here. And that means that's because this is on, and this says texture borders. So if I actually take this face part right here, I'm going to convert to UVs like I've done before, and then convert it to shell. And I should be able to move that off. So you can see that that's good. And then for this right here, I'm going to hit unfold again. So what that did is that just took that new edge that we made, and it just basically relaxed it out so it wasn't collapsed together. So when you first make it, it basically keeps it pinched to the other ones. So we have to fix that. All right, we also want to add 2 edge loops in at least right here so we get our nice crisp edge. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to do it while I'm, actually let's just get out of this mode. Let's get these. And we know what we could do is, let's just do this while we're here. See if that fixes it. So these shells, I usually like them to be facing the direction that they are in the 3D space. So in other words, I know that this, if you look at this for this long edge right here, that one is actually the edge that is straight up and down. And so when I did my unfold, it messed with it, and it's kind of annoying, but you can just move it back. So, and now the other problem is too is that I might be rotating this, and then like this is actually the bottom instead of the top. So let's find out. Okay, it looks like that is the top. That's good. And then let's find out if this is the top too. Yeah, that is. Okay, so we're fine. So okay, so then if I want to, I can come to layout, just click this. It'll put them into here, and then I'm going to move them out because later we're going to move everything back. Looks like that's strange. I don't know. Okay, there we go. and wasn't sure why my widget was coming out here. If your widget like is in a strange spot in the 3D viewport, that usually means you have more than one thing selected. Like if it's not right on what you're selecting, that means you've got something behind it selected or something like that. So that's why that my widget being out here kind of threw me off there for a second. So let's go ahead and just put some cuts here. We'll go ahead and just lay one in here and lay one in there, pretty close to each other. Let's go back to modeling, or Maya standard. All right, Maya standard. So I'm getting this problem that's happened a few times when I'm going back to Maya standard and I want my attribute editor to come out. It's like it's keeping it almost like locked, like it was in a different mode, and I don't like it like that. So if that happens, I can reset my current workspace. So I can do that, and now if I hit Control A, oh, I lied. Usually fixes it. So let me see, save current workspace, reset workspace. That usually works, but apparently this time it did not. So, oops. Yeah, didn't do it. So there is a way that you can lock these back in, but honestly, I haven't had this happen until they changed the interface recently, so I'm not really sure on how you do lock those back in. So I'm not going to talk about that right now. That's a UI interface issue that we'll need to handle. I will handle at some point, but at this point I'll just close it. Okay, so F3. I just want to look at this one more time, and I'm gonna, oops, object mode. I'm gonna isolate it, deselect it. Let's hide the grid. We don't need that. I just want to see if it looks clean and good to me. Yeah, that looks really nice. Okay, so we're gonna use a piece of this right here to make our other piece. So we're gonna go face. Let's just grab, oops. I just want to make sure I didn't extrude off a face. That's the only disadvantage of having that extrude tool, is that if you accidentally click on this, and you can extrude a face on accident. Okay, so if I go ahead and select these, grow your selection, and then this flat piece can be my next piece. So I'll go ahead and extrude this, or I should say duplicate it. So we'll duplicate this. I'll move it off a little bit. Oops. Let's just make sure we grab it on the one axis right here, like so it stays in alignment. And the other thing we're going to need to do with this is we're going to go to the faces, and we'll go to mesh display reverse. So we actually want the normals to be facing this piece. And now we can go back to our other pieces, and I will have to scale this up a little bit. So let's go to our left view, hit F on our keyboard, and it looks like in this view it's actually like it's smaller, but it's actually just like because the tapering and the curve are right here, and the perspective distortion. It's like a combination of the two. So I'm gonna go ahead and just scale this piece back up a little bit. But what I'll do first is I'll delete the history, freeze the transformations, and then center pivot. So then that way I can scale it right from where it's at, and that should be good. All right. So now we're gonna go to doing this piece in the next video. So thanks for watching.